Hey, what's going on, everybody? Christian Hanna Horror here today, and today I want to talk to you about Halloween versus Halloween 2. Which one do I prefer and why? To start this video off, of course, I just want to say, of course, I love both of these movies, and I'm not trying to necessarily say that one is better than the other. All I can do is give you my opinion and my thought process on these two iconic Halloween entries. But I do have a preference. I do have one that I enjoy more than the other. And we'll break down these films. We'll start with, obviously, the classic, 1978 Halloween. Now, 1978 Halloween, there's nothing I could even fathom to say that hasn't been said, discussed, broke down, analyzed already. I love the original Halloween. It's one of, in my opinion, the greatest horror movies, slasher movies ever made. John Carpenter crafted this amazing film with an amazing little tale with Dr. Loomis, one of the greatest characters in horror. We know Dr. Loomis. We love Dr. Loomis. The soundtrack is as iconic as anything. I don't know that any theme from a horror movie matches it. There are certainly some that are close, but in my opinion, if I'm going to have a bullet to my head say what is the most iconic Halloween or horror movie score in the world, I would probably go to Halloween. Sure, there's Jaws, there's Psycho, there's others, Nightmare on Elm Street, but Halloween score, boy, I think it has to be considered one of the greatest scores ever in horror. Now, the character of Michael Myers is as iconic and as classic as anything in the world of horror as well. I love Michael Myers in this first movie because the mystique is great. I'm with you guys on that. I love the fact that here's this character, he's broken out of prison, or he's broken out of the mental hospital, and he's coming home. And he will stop at nothing, and you better not get in his way to go home. And I love that. I love the tale of Halloween. I do think it's an absolute perfect movie, despite the fact of the fluffs and the things that John did, like having cigarette smoke in a shot. I don't think those things matter, because, in my opinion, perfect doesn't necessarily mean perfect. Perfect means the circumstances combined create something amazing. So, 1978 Halloween, I love it to death. I give that movie a solid 10 out of 10. But when it comes to 1981's Halloween 2, there's my dog. Halloween 2 is a movie that I go back with this one, I think almost before the first Halloween. I have vivid memories of watching Halloween 2 years ago, and this movie scared the crap out of me growing up. It still is a very spooky, atmospheric movie. Now, we know the tale. We know that Halloween 2 was called by the critics an imitation of its own imitators, and I couldn't disagree more with that statement. Yes, gore became very popular in the slasher genre and early 80s horror. It did. But to call it an imitation of its own imitators, I think is belittling. I think is not fair. I don't think is credible. Because even though Halloween had its gore and had pushed the envelope with the character of Michael and the effect that he had on his victims, Halloween 2, I still felt kept so much spookiness and so much atmosphere and so much horror and tension in this movie as much as Halloween 1. I think that the mood and the spookiness of Halloween 2 is ever present in this film. I don't think it dips at all. I think it's more intense. I think it's more gore gothic with its approach with the music that the amazing Alan Howarth added to the original score with those layers of those organs. But the spooky factor, the vibe, the atmosphere, I think is ever present in this film. And I love that about it. I love Dick Warlock as the Shape in this movie. I love the more supernatural almost vibe that he took with it, because he walked very non-human almost. He was very robotic, may not necessarily be the word for it, but he was paced slower. He moved a little bit more creepy when he would go down the staircase. And I don't want to get into who I think is better, Nick or Dick. I think they're both great, and that rhymed. I love Halloween 2, and it's one of my favorites. But the question that we have all asked, the question of this video, rather, is which is better? Which do I prefer, Halloween or Halloween 2? Now, I've thought long and hard about this, and I love both of these films. But between these two, I'm a Halloween 2 fan. Even more. I'm a Halloween 2 fan because that movie, I love the atmosphere of the hospital. I love the danger is even more intense. I love the fact that they know he's out there. They know he's out there, and now they're scared they can't stop him, as opposed to people need to realize what's going on, and the word isn't out yet. I think that the raising of the stakes of the radio saying, this guy is out, lock your doors, get inside your house, you need to run, just raises the bar. And I always love that, because in my opinion, if you're going to do a sequel, you make it bigger, badder, and better. And I feel that Halloween 2 made it bigger, badder, and better. Question to you, which do you prefer? Which one do you prefer a little bit more? Halloween or Halloween 2? Tough decision, because they're both pretty much big fan favorites in the horror community, and especially in the Halloween fan community. But which one do you prefer just a little bit more? I've got to go with Halloween 2 on this. But to say that one's better than the other, I wouldn't even fathom to start that argument. I just really like the tone, the intensity, the raising of the stakes in Halloween 2. And I'm a fan of this movie for a long time, and I'll always be a fan of this movie, as well as the original Halloween. So what do you guys think? Which one do you prefer and why? This is Christian Hanna Horror. I'm sure we'll bump into each other one more time before Halloween. Have a good day.